So it was doing about $1,500 a month when we first took it down. It's $240,000 was the purchase price. Revenue we got up to $5,000 at first.
Jeez, $1,500 to $5,000
in a short period of time.
How many facilities do you guys have?
Yeah, we've got 19, I guess, separate locations, but they're all like 20,000 square feet. You know, I think we accumulated everything for 1.1 million, and then what was the purchase price? 3.2 million in 5 years.
What was it with you guys that you said we would make a good partnership?
Bill, he's the one that's kept us clean out of bad deals, out of bad opportunities, because I'm just like,
let's go.
We got to do this.
Yes.
Let's go. You know, and that's been really helpful to have that contrast. Yeah, and find a partner, right, that has something different from you. If you're just both yes men and you tell each other, you're going to get yourself into a bad spot.
All right, everybody, welcome to the podcast. So we are actually at the Self-Storage Income event, and we are having conversations, and we have operators here that we are interviewing. We're excited to dive into it. We actually started the podcast just straight going into it because we were already into conversations, and they were great conversations, so we didn't stop. But before we jump in and start playing that, you guys want to introduce yourselves real quick, because obviously the podcast just started out with us going. So why don't you guys introduce yourself real quick before they hear our immediate nonstop for the next hour and a half.
Before they start playing, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I'm Korbin Smoot with Better Self Storage. We're owning and operating facilities and love storage.
Yep. My name is Bill DeWaal out of Utah. Korbin's out of Idaho. And again, we're with Better Self Storage and trying to make things happen in this industry.
There you go. Anybody that's looking at growing, starting out, this conversation is amazing. It's a long one because it is just packed full. So hope you guys enjoy. How many facilities do you guys have?
So yeah, it depends on how you're counting. That's
how do you count yours?
So it depends on who's asking.
Yeah, we've got 19, I guess, separate locations, but they're all like 20,000 square feet per average, right? Yep. So we've got, and so if we're talking about what we're operating as like one, right?
Yes.
We've got, a couple of twos, and we got a 7 portfolio and a 5, right? They're all close by. And
okay, so
that way.
17 locations, right?
Yeah.
Operating some of them together. And when was your guys' first deal?
2017. Yeah, Ogden. We've since sold that one.
Okay.
But that was a deal. That was when I started. Just started driving around, looking at opportunities and deals. And Bill worked with my dad and his partner.
Okay.
For a long time. And I just started doing some brokering, came in the office with these guys, and so I started driving around, and they already owned some storage
And that
facilities.
was in Ogden?
Ogden, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had owned one
Utah.
with them prior to him coming on
Got
in Woods
it.
Cross. And
They loved storage. They always talked it up. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go find every storage facility anywhere, right? And I started in Utah, and then it's branched out now, nationwide now that we're looking. But found that deal in Ogden. It was literally probably my first couple of months that I called the guy, and it was a guy that thought that people in Ogden couldn't pay a certain amount or whatever.
Yeah.
He was renting his, little 8x8s for, $30 a month. And so, we got in there, and we leveraged our way into the deal by finding it, right? And then my dad and his partner, they came in and kind of fronted the money, and we got our ownership percentage there. And then we actually accumulated a few other properties around that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they were all within a block of each other.
Okay.
With kind of an office warehouse building,
Yeah.
with the one down the street, and sold that one right in time in 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah, right where the
Perfect
interest
timing.
rates went up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
we bought a couple.
If we
others
could
in
go
between
back,
that.
we'd sell everything right then, and then turn around and start buying all again. 2 years later. That's how it works.
Like it went from, I think we accumulated everything for 1.1 million, and then what was the purchase price? 3.2 million in 5 years.
Jeez.
So that was a great deal
Home
for
run.
us.
So then, now you were working with his dad.
His dad and his partner. His dad's partner.
Got it. Okay. And then you guys came together and were like, let's go out and buy them, right? So you were a broker, and then you wanted to actually be owner operators.
Yeah, so I had been working with his dad and his partner since 2007. I started with them in 2007 doing brokering. So I was doing just commercial brokering is all we do. We still do a little bit of that, but that's what I did for a long period. And then Korbin, grew up. he's a young buck.
When he first got involved, right?
Yeah.
So then he came, started working in the office, and shortly, honestly, just to be honest, and I've already told him this, is just saw the fire in somebody that would have been, would be a good partner. And so I kind of, left those guys, and we started working together and really starting to, pound the pavement on. Well, I was still going forward with brokering while he was out, looking for properties for us to buy. So
funded a lot of the immediate needs of money and everything else.
Yeah.
So that
it's in our early stages.
Pound and make calls, and
You were
put all that
finding
stuff
the
together.
deals, you were packaging them, you guys were coming together.
Yeah.
And when you started out owning and operating them, did you get a third party management when you started out, or did you guys actually do that? How'd
This
that
guy
work?
right here.
You
So,
did it.
well, yeah. So, with that Ogden deal, right, we had,
Oh, that's true.
they had their operation, went under their stock and lock self-storage.
Yeah.
That's kind of their brand. They own a few in Utah, and then, I think they
Florida
own
and
one in
Idaho.
CUNA as well, Idaho.
Okay.
They have one random one out there.
Yeah.
They have a great manager. She's been incredible for them, right? She's been with them for 15 years now, like a long time.
Knows it inside and out.
Yeah, she's awesome, and so she took over that Ogden one. Honestly, I wish we had gotten more involved in that one
Yeah.
and done more ourselves.
Yeah.
But where I actually started to learn the process of managing these things is that I had previously, before in like 2016, I had put something out on Indeed. I was looking for maybe management positions at storage facilities to kind of learn things, and some guy found it somewhere. I didn't even know it was out there still. He's one of our partners now on another deal, which I guess we'll probably get to, but he had a facility in Sunset, Utah. It was a 17,000 square foot facility. His sister had run it into the ground for him. And so it was like, there's a ton of units full of crap. Then we went in and were able to, I went in, I guess I was just managing at that time. You weren't even involved. This was like extra income for me. I'm just starting out trying to get things happening. And I think this was in 2018 when I started managing this one, and got it all cleaned up, got everything out, had to figure it all out. That was really painful. Everything was scary, right? I was like, how do I auction things off? How do I do this? I even delayed and put off auctions and put off things. I didn't know.
You didn't know how to do it. Yep.
How to do what to do, right? And it's like, so that was a big step for me to have some confidence there. But then as brokers, we sold that for him. We initially had given him an offer on the facility. When he first got in touch with us, we tried to get it for $650, and we turned it down. I guess in the end, it ended up not happening on mutually, right? And then we managed it, but then we were able to sell that facility for him for like $975 just a few years later.
Yeah.
Right, so I got $975,000. He was contemplating $650 before.
Yeah.
And then when we sold that for him, we 1031 exchanged him down into a facility in Kearns, Utah, in 2019.
You learned by getting your hands dirty, jumping.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's kind of funny how that works too, because especially, when we got started, there wasn't, even if we wanted third-party management, that wasn't available. I think they had some in like first-tier markets, but nothing. You're talking Southern California. That wasn't even remotely close to available in any of the markets, even the big ones we were in. And when we got into it, there was also there's no podcasts, right? There was it was like you're saying, just figure it out. Like, well, hold off auctions, because how do we even do this? Like, who do we call? It was like, call up a local attorney or something, because we're just how do we legally do this? And then literally just, we made a mistake. Okay, we can't do that again. Got to fix it. And it was trial by error, like nonstop. I think that there's so much good about that, even though we were at such a disadvantage. I often say, if we could go back and I had all the resources that we had today, holy cow, I could do 10x as much. One of the problems, though, with all the resources is you have so much available that you don't move, because you're like, well, I can always learn more. Where for us, it didn't work like it was. No, you have to move.
You just got to do it.
There's nothing even available.
Yeah.
And so that really allowed, even though that was scary a lot of times, our first big facility that we bought, which was, at the time, $3 million was so scary to me because we looked at it, we're like, this cash flows, it's all that good stuff. And we had our basic understandings. I didn't know what a cap rate was. That wasn't even something we really used at the time. But outside that, there wasn't even really anyone for us to go to that was like, this is a good deal. There's no confirmation. The banks were like, okay, we got to cross collateralize. Like, you really had to try to make it work. And the idea of where things would go and how it would work, it's just so different. And I'm grateful that I had that, even though obviously today with the resource and tool we had, holy cow, we could have done so much more. But I love hearing that, just figuring it out. Like the amount of times that I was on facilities digging out drains because I'm getting calls, they're flooded, we're having snow issues, we had a massive snow year, and the snow plows would come, but the snow was piling up. So the snow plows were putting it in all our spots. All of a sudden, the facility, the middle, all the aisles, towers of snow. We had to get them removed. And we didn't know this, but that is expensive.
Yep.
Like, we spent $150,000 in snow removal in 1 month.
Wow.
Holy
wow.
freaking.
And then you got to repair your fences because they're pushing the snow up against your fences.
Smash the fences.
So they're laying down flat.
Yep. Oh, yeah. They hit the doors. And then the snow falls off the building and then piles up. We have 4 feet because it just comes off the building. And then when it melts, you have a dam in front of all of the doors.
Big old ice
the
dam.
water comes down and flows back into the units. Like,
That was Snowmageddon, right? I've heard about that out there.
Yeah, crazy.
About that
it was wild. We're just like, please stop snowing. Every day.
It's invaluable to go through that, right? I mean, to be able to deal with that and understand that the issues that can affect the property.
Yeah.
Right? And like sitting in this conference, we've had a couple people come and ask us, like, what do you guys think? Should we hire a third-party manager? Should we do it ourselves? I'm like, out of the gate, try to do it yourself.
Try to do it yourself.
The education you'll have off of that first facility of trying to manage that on your own.
Well, and how do you effectively manage a manager if you have no idea what's going on?
Right.
Then you're just simply at the disposal of whatever they tell you. Lots of people are out trying to buy facilities, small ones that range everywhere from $300,000 to $4 or $5 million. They're worried about getting the money or having the financing. This is why we team up with Live Oak Bank, because they get this. They understand storage. We have them help us underwrite deals for our students and others. They are one of the best people in the industry when it comes to getting loans, especially small business loans. They can actually help the customers when they find the asset, understanding how much debt can I get? What's it gonna look like? That changes them from being a bank to being a real asset to the customer. We recommend Live Oak Bank to our students as well as others that are trying to get into the storage business. They have an in-depth knowledge of this asset class. It's more than a bank. It's more than simply getting money. They're actually an asset and a partner to them, helping them go through all the things that they don't know and understand. So you guys bought the first one and then you bought 2 more in Ogden?
Yeah, small property, then another storage facility down the street.
Okay.
A little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think it was a total of 30,000 or something
like that,
square feet.
with the warehouse.
When did you leave your backyard? Because at the time you were both living in Ogden, right?
I was in Bountiful. Yeah, we were.
Bountiful,
we were in
that area. Okay.
Yeah,
close by.
Bountiful.
And then you're still there, and you're up by me now. When did you guys leave the area and start looking for other deals? Because obviously you're quite a ways from your backyard now.
So we did one more deal in Kearns. We only took a little percentage of that. We still manage that today. And then I think Casper was our first leap, and it was our first one we did on our own, seller finance deal, $18 a square foot. It was that one was scary, right? It was 30% full. But yeah, that was leaving the backyard, right? We thought, I know things flashed through my head there that was like,
well, you get in the market,
can anybody make money in Casper? I don't even know. I don't know that area. I don't know what what goes on there. So it's, but we put like $50,000 down, seller finance deal with some lady who didn't really want to deal with it. She hated that facility, and we came in and we essentially used Sparefoot to fill that entire facility.
That's it.
Just fill that thing up in I think 6 months, and that was 13,000 square feet. We've since put some more box wells on there. I think we're up to 15,000 or so square feet there. And
so what'd the revenue do in that 6-month period of time?
so it was doing about 1,500 a month when we first took it down. It's 240,000 was the purchase price. Revenue we got up to $5,000 at first, and then slowly we're able to incrementally raise that.
1,500 to $5,000.
Yeah.
Right.
In a short period of time.
And I mean, really, since, we did buy another one in Casper recently, but before that, we were doing about 10 to 12 grand a month before we took that other one on with the expansion and everything else. And so now it turned into a really good deal for us. So we only put 50 grand into to begin with. So
let me ask you this before we keep talking about facilities. You mentioned partnering. You wanted to partner with somebody that had kind of that fire. Everything I do, I have partners. I love the ability for me to leverage the areas that I'm not good at and I don't know, and then that activity. But partnerships can also be difficult, especially when they're not done properly, you're not aligned. But when you have a partnership where you guys kind of bring different things to the table, so walk me through that. How did you guys decide, like, hey, no, we're going to come together, we're going to partner, there's some opportunities. Of course, you have the financials, the opportunities, but what was it with you guys that you said we would make a good partnership?
Yeah. I think, like I said, right off the bat, I could see that Korbin had, a desire, right?
Yeah.
And then I think one of the biggest things that I actually, as far as a partner goes, is that I trusted him. I knew he was an honest as can be. I'd been watching him in the office, dealing with people. He wanted to deal honestly with people. He wanted to deal fair with people. You know what I mean? And so I knew he would do the same as a partner.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And
how they treat others is how they'll treat you.
Yeah. And so it was easy for me to see that this is a type of partner you want to work with. And obviously I knew his dad. I knew what kind of upbringing he had, which he's about, good a guy as you can know. So, and that's not to say, we definitely do bring different, gifts and talents in the way that we work, but that's not to say we haven't had, some frustrations with each other either, right?
Yeah, that's part of it.
Right. And the key is, just the other day, Korbin sent me a text and we got on the phone and talked, and you got to be willing to chat, talk it out. And
it's not
understand.
that you won't have disagreements and arguments, it's how you handle them.
Right.
Because there's no partnership, obviously, that you're not only the same, you think about everything the same, but you don't have beliefs, or that you have beliefs too that are contrary. Like, you can have areas where you really feel strongly about no, I believe this is going to be the outcome. I believe that this could be dangerous one, and then you could have the other one taking another belief by the same metrics. So it's more than just, I think a lot of people think of it like, oh, we can come to agreements. You actually have fundamental beliefs that are different sometimes.
Oh, totally.
And understanding, though, too, that that's also the strength. Like, if you look at my partners, and especially my operating partner, who was Sam, we act like, yin and yang, where he was, okay, hold on, we got to back these rents off. We can't achieve that. No, we got to do this. I'm like, no, we can. And so we're sitting there going back and forth and debating and everything else. And he's contrary to me in a lot of areas where I'm more of that, and I look at him, I'm like, you keep me in check, right? Like, you keep me in check. And he's like, yeah, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't do anything.
We've had this exact conversation.
Yeah,
he is definitely you, and I'm the other guy.
That's the funny thing is that's exactly what I was going to say. When I got turned to speaker, I was like, Bill, he's the one that's kept us clean out of bad deals, out of bad opportunities. Because I'm just like,
let's go.
We got to do this.
Yes. Let's go. And yeah, so that's been really helpful to have that contrast. Yeah, and find a partner, right, that has something different from you. If you're just both yes men and you tell each other, you're going to get yourself into a bad spot.
I love that. Now, walk me through the partnership today. How you guys work together? Like, what are the roles? How do you view those roles? And then how do you guys make decisions when you're underwriting, doing deals? Like, how do you go about that process of what's a go, what's a no-go, and what part are we each playing in this?
I mean, that's always ebbs and flows. I mean, it's definitely flowing for sure as we hire new people on, pull ourselves out of roles, and we definitely
switching
adjust.
up those hats all the time.
So those do change, but I would say what's consistent is Korbin being the gunslinger in the relationship is definitely more on the acquisition side in digging, and we have a team that's doing a lot of that behind the scenes as well. But he's working closely with them, and then as deals get closer to being, hey, this is interesting, I slide in. And we start working the deal through together, right? We'll get on a phone call and we'll look all the numbers over together and make a decision based on that. But he's definitely on the acquisition side for sure. I'm more on the side of the capital, raising the capital, and more on the financial side of the business. So
that makes sense. So now Casper, that was your first deal that was more or less out of your backyard, right? Which was obviously a huge success, 1,500 to 5,000. That's awesome. Now, where did you guys keep in Wyoming, or did that open you up for farther? Like that experience in doing that deal, did that really open up your lens and say we can go other places? How did you define the markets as you're growing?
Really, we, to be honest, in the beginning here, we didn't really do a ton of analysis on the market, income things that you talk about, like that are really
neither
in depth.
Did we when we started.
We did, yeah.
It was like
we just jumped in.
It
was
deal
money.
It was. This is obviously a deal. We're going to obviously make money here, right? We check the rents around and figure out that sort of the market. But it was just like, oh yeah, obviously this is going to be a deal. We know we can do better here. But going to Casper, that opened us up. We bought a deal in West Richland, Washington, the Tri-Cities area over there. From there, and we were doing about a deal a year for a few years ago. So we went from there, then Pocatello, and when did Burley come in? Oh, Burley came in after that. We 1031 from Ogden to Burley,
my hometown.
Some part,
It actually went Ogden, Burley, then Pocatello.
Oh yeah, we actually sold off part of that Burley portfolio, the Rupert part of it.
Yeah,
and then rolled that money into Pocatello, and so it was. The Casper, it was eye-opening, right? To see that, we can do this. We can go out of our backyard, right? Because I know that my dad and his partner, right? And that was a lot of where our beliefs came from and coming from them, which was awesome, right? We learned so much from them. But they're more like my backyard, right? So they do all kinds of different types. They're not just storage, right? And they just stay in their backyard and they know their area and they do great there. But for us, it was eye-opening that, okay, we can make a thing out of storage. If we can go other places,
make it work.
We can,
That was a lot of so when we got started, same thing. It was very deal-based, as in, is this a deal? So we, looking at that spread of what we can do, more than what the market's going to do, that really drove us. So that changed a lot of the way we looked at markets, because markets were lower on the priority list, where the most was the spread between operations. How can we improve this asset based upon today, what we actually know, what's going on, as opposed to, this is a great market, we're going to buy here and things go up. That market-driven value appreciation, it was very much focused on, no, this is the delinquencies, here's the rents, we know how this is being managed, this is the vacancy, can that be changed? And so with that said, we were more open to going outside because I cared more about the deal. And there were benefits to that, obviously, a lot of benefits. There's some drawbacks. You don't understand maybe the markets as well. But I think in storage, it can be very different than a lot of people, because if let's say you're doing all commercial real estate, or you're doing housing, right? You can stay in a backyard and have lots of opportunities, right? But in storage, there's only so many deals in and around Ogden, and you can't control if they want to sell them to you, right? You can't make them, you can't do it. So, the deals, especially in storage, I think they are a little more, you need to be more flexible, right? What are you guys looking for today in markets when you're going? Are there any things that you guys are looking for today from your experience that you've learned that you're taking away that go, okay, we need to spend some more time on this part of it than you did before? How has that changed, or has it at all? Are you a new self-storage investor and want to know what that facility is worth, what the risk is, how to underwrite it? Well, that's exactly what we do in a feasibility study. A feasibility study, we actually look at the market for you. We look at the finances, the underwriting, we show you where the upside is, the downside, and all the risk. That is actually what you can provide to banks to get capital and investors. It's a big worksheet which most banks actually require. So if you want to know what a storage facility is worth that you're looking at, come to us, follow the link in the show notes, and we will tell you.
It's changed a lot. I think being part of the inner circle and listening to podcasts and all that, I know I have you in my ear a lot.
I was going to say, you've made this guy's dream come true.
I can listen to myself. This is great. You're like, I get this.
I'm going to listen to this one like 4 times.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, this guy's got
it. Came up and asked, could you be on he was just like, oh, yeah.
No, but that's something that we're battling with right now.
Yeah,
is we're trying to figure this out, because I know we listen to you. You're saying there's so many opportunities out here. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but like, because we just did 2 deals in the Midwest, right? Where now we're looking at them after joining. We had these under contract before we joined, and then and now we're in the process of learning all this. We're like, wow, incomes are really low in these areas, and those are challenges, right, that we're facing right now in some of those deals, and so now while we're analyzing, looking at deals, now we're actually looking at the income in the area and the population growth and putting a little more weight on those things.
Yeah.
We've always bought these deals that are 100% full.
Yeah.
Right? And we just have to raise rates.
Yep.
And that's what we've dealt with.
Yes.
But now
that's not.
Yeah, we're having a hard time, because now we just bought a deal, in Topeka, Kansas and West Memphis, Arkansas.
Yeah.
And they one was, I think, 40% full when we took it over in West Memphis, and the other one was 30% full. RV storage stuff in a warehouse, and it was kind of slow coming out of the gate. And we got worried. We're panicking, right? And we're just like, man, how does it's not going as fast as we'd hoped, right? Yeah. It's a new thing.
It's a new, right? So totally new cycle.
This market, honestly, it's kind of scary for us.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to just get in better areas so we can better predict the ability to fill up and all those type of things. Yeah.
And I think, being part of the inner circle and everything we think we're getting better at analyzing deals.
Yeah.
Or markets, I should say, right?
Yeah.
And being able to understand a market better and be able to understand potential in a property, rather than, like I said, we go into Casper knowing this is a deal. We know it's a deal.
Yep.
Where being able to now go into West Memphis and say, where most people would go, I ain't gonna touch that.
Yep.
We can look at it and go, no, there's something here. There's a lot here.
Yeah.
If we do this right, there's some opportunity here. And so that's really helped us in being able to understand the markets better, like we weren't doing a good job at before. Yeah. And that's definitely changed.
I think everybody, and I talk to a lot of people about this, because they're like, well, how did you do this? And I didn't do a good job. And like, when we run up that time frame from 2017 to 2021, there was nobody that did a good job. The reason why, and when I say this, I mean nobody. And the reason why was you couldn't see. So like, well, how did you understand demand? There was no way you could. Everything was full. Yep. There was no difference. You couldn't see customers choosing and picking, because it was just, what do you have? I don't have anything. Do you have a waiting list, right? And that skews things wildly. And it can make it very difficult to then understand what, I call true demand is, as opposed to transitory demand. And when we were after 2008, we were in that part where we're buying deals that were 60, 70% full, right? And it wasn't just, oh yeah, we'll just fill them up, right? It was a lot slower. But as markets stabilized, obviously those things that we were learning in those slow markets, they are like superpowers when market changes. Yeah. Because then we know, oh no, here is where demand is. These units we can push way higher. These we can't. Whereas before, when everything was full, it was just raise rates. I don't even know what to do here, because it doesn't even matter. Everything's full. And so in the struggles, there is so much growth of knowledge and understanding. when we were during that time, 2010 to 2015, we became really good operators because we had to. You were fighting over tenants, right? We had to change all these things. We started changing the way that the assets looked. We started looking at data on like who was renting, which we'd never done before. But now we're like, who is our customer? And we're like, wow, 65, 70% of the decision makers is women. So then we rearranged how we did the offices. And we put like popcorn machines in so they'd smell good. We had like a little area where they could sit down and, play with toys if they had kids. We started to cater to those things so we could have our close rate go up. 2017 to 21, I think everybody in the industry, you didn't need to work on your acquisition and your close rate because it was just we either have it or we don't. So when looking and seeing those markets, we're kind of struggling and everything. What happens though when it turns? Those things that you've learned, it just juices up that revenue and that portfolio because you understand those assets, that market and like true demand. And when you're applying those, as opposed to just more sitting and holding, which that's the kind you're buying from people, right? And you also have a lot of people that it was so easy that today, you mentioned this, and I thought this was really important. Somebody that's like, I'm just done with it, right? We're seeing so many people today that are like, I'm just done with this. I thought it was going to be easy, that we wouldn't have to do anything. I bought it. I have delinquencies. We're not doing anything with it. I'm tired of this. And they're ready to move on because the struggles just kind of worn down. They're not really reiterating. They're not really building upon. And so I find times like this either makes people exit or it makes people really grow. And it's not because one has difficulties and the others doesn't. It's because one takes those difficulties and turns them into assets. And after we get through this period of time, like the operators that came out of the 2008, there was like a whole bunch of us. They just boom, 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 assets went, huge. And it wasn't because they were buying during them. I'm talking they really grew after 2015 when markets started to get better because they could leverage all of that. So it's, I totally feel you. Because we have those too. We have in Oklahoma and we have some other ones where the market just didn't produce what you thought it would, and looking back at it, it's like, how did I miss that? And the thing was, you're like 5 years and there was no data
That's
at all.
what it was.
It was just what it was.
Yeah.
So then once that market, you couldn't have even known because it didn't exist. And so you're finding out then after, as those market and those cycles change, how the operation methods have changed. How have you guys changed your operations since 2019 to today?
Oh man, yeah, that's where I was really diving in and doing everything right. In 2019, I was taking all the phone calls, doing all that stuff, and it was it was finally in Kearns right after selling off that facility in Sunset and then going into Kearns. That's where I started to really hone in those operations and get like regular auctions, right? Have a regular lean process situation, right? And I was just doing like before that, it was just the Wild West. And in 2019, right, things were actually kind of slow on this property. It's a junky property. It wasn't, it wasn't great. And so I read a book, right? I think it was Jim, what's his face, 3 Mile Storage guy. I read this book and I implemented everything from that book. And that was a moment where I kind of honed in operations and did it the best I could. Which still was doing everything wrong. But it's like, it was functional, it was good. And then obviously 2020, 2021, that saved me. We went to 100%, even though the facility was
looking real good.
It was a junky facility, and I thought I was really awesome and cool and really good at everything. And it was because I was working so hard that it was going up. But from there, it was like we kind of plateaued and went stagnant for a little bit. Like with we picked up some other facilities, and it was still just kind of easy. And then recently we hired on just an incredible director of operations. Sandy, she is completely revolutionized everything, right?
Game changer, right?
So big.
Game
right?
changer.
Like when we hired her on, I was like, oh my gosh. And I've told her this, I'm like, I thought I was good at this. And then I'm like, wow, I was doing this all wrong. She like walks in, she finds out, you were doing this? Oh my gosh, we get sued here. We get, just like, oh, okay. All right. Let's change that. Let's get it.
Yeah.
As far as, managing VAs, right? I think that's a big part of what we've leveraged.
Yep.
Right. I finally, once we bought our facility in West Richland, that's when I was, listening to the Nick Huber podcast. Right? He talked a lot about VAs.
Yeah, a lot about VAs.
And so I looked into it. Finally, that was scary.
Yeah.
But I was like, how do I even know these people are real people? They're just going to take all our money and take credit cards and do, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was really scared there, and we hired on some VAs that were really awful, that were just not like, they weren't good at all. Yep. But I was thrilled with them. I was like, this is great. They're
doing something. They're taking work.
They're taking work off my plate.
I don't have to do it. So we hired one to take like half the day, and then we hired on another one to take the full day. And then we actually ran into some really good ones, right? Some really good VAs that we brought on, right? And they're all out of the Philippines. And I'm so impressed by like what you pay them versus what the effort that they
crazy.
give.
The amount of work they're willing to do.
They're so good. And I know we hired one on, and she was with us for a couple of years. And she was really good. Like the value that they can create, right? And the way that she even like the suggestions she gave, right? That revolution, like our acquisitions process and how we identify who the owner is and what phone number is the right place. And then we can have our acquisitions manager make the call to actually see if they'll sell. And it's just invaluable, right? And here we are paying her $800 a month.
Yeah.
Right. And it's almost humbling to see that.
Yeah.
Right. And they're thrilled. They're happy.
Yeah. Yeah. You're paying them. They're making a ton of money down there. I actually went to the Philippines, and my buddy has a VA like business and everything out there, and we got to see. And I've used, funny enough, I don't know if you know this, George, that runs my partner, runs SSI. He was a VA. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's how I got him. Hey, who's VA? I'm like, I need help with a bunch of stuff, and I hired him up, and then he grew and so obviously I've had very good success with VAs. And rolled them over. But when you get, especially that, I don't want to say monotonous work, and work that is really important, but it's time consuming. Not bad monotonous necessarily, but it's necessary. Everything from market research to on and on and on. To hire here for that work, it's not affordable. It's just not. I mean, and then to hire VAs who do better work twice as much, and you can get that talent. It's a big hack, especially when you're starting out. Hence the reason, like George and others, that's how I did it. That's everything. Even starting the podcast, I hired VAs because I didn't know I needed to leverage that knowledge, and then I needed to leverage work and good quality work. And like you mentioned, you brought in not a VA, but your director of ops, and how that just took you to the next level, right? You're like, wow. Yeah. And that is my favorite thing when I hire people, is that when I hire them, I go, oh, wow, I was doing a really bad job. That's how you know it's a good hire, right? So I'm like, and that's what I love. When I hire them, I'm like, wow, I should not have been doing this. Like, I'm so like, it really does take you up. And, we've obviously had big moments like that in the company, and those individuals, whether that's a VA or a new hire, it reshapes the organization. It reshapes how much capacity you have to take on, and then your performance. The great thing about VAs is that you can do it just starting out, right? And you can hire them leverage. Really, really, really important. What about technology? So how has that changed in your use and how you think about it and what you're trying to do?
Getting all this remote has definitely changed our tech stack, if you will. Just being able to communicate in that manner, and operate in that way. And that's been a learning curve like you wouldn't believe. I mean, trying to figure out what's a good software to manage our storage facilities, to figuring out what's a good communication tool,
a lot of changes this year in tech.
And so it's amazing how crucial it's actually become to our business, right? Especially when we talk about, with Sandy, our operations gal, that just, she needs these tools, and, we've strived to give her what she needs. But the tech side of thing, that's where we've kind of battled a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Expensive. Because it's so expensive. And I'm on the financial side of things going, whoa, we can't be dropping this.
Yeah.
But it does seem, truthfully, you can't be afraid to get into some of these tools that are necessary for today's industry.
It is. And a lot of it, you think that, it's competitive. Our customers are driving it. So it's not even necessarily, it's the customers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people were really slow to realize, and we used to talk about this a lot, where we're like, you don't understand. You're saying you don't want to do these things because they're either not necessary, but the customer is demanding it. When you're in a world of one click and you operate everything your customers do everything on the phone, if you are not where they're at, you just don't get them.
Yeah.
And if you don't have their expectations, and the technology expanse and what has changed in the world since, the last just 10 years alone, we have had as an industry to try to catch up to where the customers were. So the first time that it happened, which this makes me sound so old, but I'm not. So I just got to preface this. The industry was really far behind everybody. It's not
You're
that
getting kind of old.
So, I get a little old. But, so,
YouTube old.
I always feel like I'm old.
That's right. The websites, when they were coming out, operators were adamantly against them. They're like, we don't understand them. That's not how our business works. So they didn't want to put websites up.
Wow.
And us going in, purchasing a facility, we could remove what was $15,000, $20,000 a year in Yellow Pages. We're talking 2014 here.
I don't think Korbin knows what the Yellow Pages are.
2014. I'm not talking about the 90s. So, and 2007 and 8, it shouldn't have been a thing, but it was. So, but that was so expensive. And then we could put up a website. Our traffic just skyrocketed. Our rates went up. So it was a huge effect on net profit because we could lower one of our biggest expenses, and yet we saw massive increases with it. I think one of the issues that we have today is when you've been in a cycle, which we believe has changed, and we talked a lot about that. I talked about that last night. But the last 3 years, it has been in a cycle coming off the craziness where you have occupancy and rents lowering. It starts to become really hard to see that ROI in technology.
Yeah,
because
totally.
We've been in an inflationary period. Expenses have just been rising.
Mm-hmm.
So to add more expenses, especially in a market cycle where rents are down and occupancy is down, that makes it really tough. It's not like when we're going, we'll just get rid of an expense and add technology and we get this benefit from it, right? But there are other benefits outside that, like operationally, the use through really doing a no-key type things. And I mean just a hands-off, free, and you can manage the customer experience all the way online. That makes it easier for us to automate. Then you can lower, your man hours, your work hours. When you guys are looking at your sites, do you have any full-time managers on? Are your sites that size? So walk me through your operations per facility, or your average one.
So we do have one. So our Burley portfolio, which we've got like 20% of that one. So we're not the majority partner. So we're not operating and running that ourselves. But we have an on-site manager there because we got 7 of them, all close by. So she manages and operates those. She's great. And then our only other on-site person we have out in West Memphis, right? Because we got 5 facilities there. But he's a full-time maintenance guy, right? Like he's a full-time boots on the ground guy.
Yeah.
That was kind of our idea because we don't want to have to deal with watching the cash and dealing with all the things that could happen there, especially in an area like West Memphis.
Yep.
And so, the idea is that we have him go out and do projects. He can do painting, he can do other things, and we can, and that needs
multiple
a lot of work.
Facilities, one person, so then they can spread it around. Yep. We do a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
We even at sites, our average site's probably 85,000 net rentable square feet, and we have pared back the management overall, and we've utilized the same tactic where you buy a bunch in and you fractionalize it over, and then we use technology to fill in, obviously, all those gaps not having managers there. And that's worked pretty well. How's that? Is that something you guys are continually trying to do? Group assets together like that? Or is it we have them one off and remote manage them and that's not a problem either?
It's a mix of both, right?
Mix of both.
So it's I think that's preferable, right? Is to get more closer together.
Yep.
Economies of scale. You
Yep.
can kind of be an anchor in that market. You get people see you everywhere. So that's definitely preferable, right? But yeah, we'll pick up we'd probably pick up a 20 to 30,000 square foot facility one off somewhere for the right price and in a market and do remote operations with it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like Casper, we would have never picked up the second facility in Casper had we not already had the facility in Casper.
Yes.
It's too small. It's not something we ever would have bought, but it was just a simple purchase of, we've got the operations put in place already. It's almost nothing for us to add this other property in this same market.
Yep.
That was the easiest onboarding process we've ever had, right?
Yeah. And
our VAs took care of all of it, really. Like we didn't even have to look at it. We're just like, oh, let's go buy it. We didn't even look at the property before we bought it.
I think there's a ton of value in that, right? You've learned the market.
You know the market.
You've learned your customer base.
Your underwriting's like, well, what's the rate? It's here. I know.
Yep. Very, very easy to do. And I think that's definitely something that, we should be doing more of, frankly, in the markets that we're already in. But yeah, huge value in being able to buy properties that are in current markets that you're already in.
Walk me through your underwriting. What are you looking for? When you're looking at a new deal, you're moving into maybe a market, you're close to a market you've been in or a new market. What are you looking for?
Yeah, when I'm looking at underwriting, this is a lot of what we're refining and trying to figure out. Really, where do we want to put our buy box, right? Our buy box used to be, let's do pro forma, throw 35% expenses in there, and this is going to be worth double. Obviously, we're going to do that deal.
Obviously.
Even if we're way off, we're good, right?
We're good.
And we got lucky a couple times, right? Just by grabbing that.
Right, but so it's now we're trying to refine and look at, okay, what is the income, right? And as we've refined our buy box going through the inner circle, we're looking for 50,000 plus on income, right? We want to get a little higher income, or at least some income, right? Not a bunch of unemployed people, and then looking at populations, right? We don't want to go under really 20,000 in population, but this has been the hardest thing for me is because I'm a very thorough person. I'm like, well, there could be a good deal in a 5,000 population or whatever. So I always find myself going outside my buy box and wasting time.
Yes.
Right. And so I have to keep reminding myself that just stay in this and you'll find a deal. More focus will bring, more clarity on deals and bring more deals to the table because you're focused on something rather than just shotgunning everything and you don't get anywhere. Right.
So how are you looking at it when you go in, we think we have a good deal maybe? What are the things to you that are you talking just price to revenue? Is it, there's good delinquencies, there's upward side on the revenue? Or is it, what is those opportunities that stand out to you guys that you go, if we bought this, we could improve this, or it's a good asset, it's getting a great return at a great price? How's that look when you get that information in?
Yeah, I don't think at this point we've really taken down a property without seeing upside, right? I mean, blue sky is huge to us. I think that's and I think that is to any investor, right? But I do think that's one of the driving factors of most of the deals that we've taken down is it poorly managed, right? And can we do a better job? And does the market allow us to be able to bring those tenants in? Or is this really what the market is? But you can find that out pretty quickly by calling around other facilities and see what occupancies are and things like that.
Yeah, we're doing pro formas, putting them down. We used to have this number that 14% cash on cash return gives us enough to really get into this. But now I'm thinking we're maybe a little too conservative on our underwriting. I think that can be something that
we've been dealing with that a lot. We're finding opportunities, and I've said this. We're taking exactly what we did from 2013 to 15, and we're literally just going to repeat the portfolio strategy, everything else. And we can do that because we're finding deals that are discounted, but that doesn't, when people, I just don't get any good deals, right? And good deals are created. They're not given, but also good deals usually are good deals for a reason. They're not perfect. So when you look at that, what we found in having a conservative underwriting, we've been going back and forth. Are we too conservative because, everybody feels burned. So, right, but that leaves off a huge portion of the upside, meaning this, we're buying deals that are Class A, multi-story facilities in areas right now we have under contract and are buying and have bought in places like Fort Worth, right? They're selling at below $100 a square foot, which in that market 2.5 years ago were 200 plus, right? But they're empty. One of the reasons, obviously, that we're buying is we know that will change. We know that, no, it's not going to be a 7.5 cap, right? Interest rates, cap rates correlate exactly. We're on a downward cycle. If interest rates go down 100 basis points, cap rates are going to move down. So if we just looked at going from a 7 to a 6, right, or 5.5, the value creation is immense. And it's one of the buying reasons, it's one of the reasons we're going to buy it. But we don't want to present or sell that, right, necessarily because we don't know.
Things you can't control.
And you can't control it. So it's always been an internal thing lately where we're going, are we being too conservative in our projections where we're sitting at a point where we're going, a very little change due to lower interest rates could drive way higher returns, which we're not putting in. And should we be buying more aggressively? And we've decided we're not going to buy more aggressively, and we're also, we're trying to do it. But this over the last 4 months, this has been a defining factor within the team, underwriting, management team, and then the property management team, going back and forth on these underwriters. We have amazing underwriters. We have an amazing team that looks at this. But are we being not aggressive enough, and are we being overly conservative? And so I feel that, like,
we're in that same boat.
It's you don't want to be, and we don't want to plan for something we don't know. I think we've kind of gotten to the point where we're like, all right, a good deal is a good deal based upon what we can measure into, right? If that's there, then we know anything else is given. That's just cherry on top, right? So then when we look at it, we can start to compare different properties. Will that market deliver it? One thing we're not doing, though, is in markets that don't and haven't historically driven lower cap rates outside a very select period of time, we can't buy for that. Have you adjusted your underwriting, though, as deals have started to get better over the last 3 years? And by better, I mean you're getting better prices walking into them, maybe higher cap rates. Are you planning exits at lower cap rates? How do you go about that future projections? Like, what are you adjusting increases in your rents? Are you saying, all right, over a 5-year period of time, we're going to average a 5% increase a year? And that may be obviously different if you have a storage facility that's full versus empty. But that future projections, the future rates, the future cap rate stuff, how are you guys handling that? And how are you looking at that right now? I think a lot of people are struggling with this.
Yeah, across the board, I keep cap rates the same.
I was going to say, we don't mess with them because you don't know.
We don't know. Yep.
Don't touch the cap rates. And this is part of what we're honing in and trying to figure out, right? Like I said before, right, we didn't even project out for the next 5 years or so, right? It was just like, obviously a deal now, and I'm sure 5 years will be wonderful, right? Yeah. But yeah, in this market, that becomes a lot more important, right? Yes. When you have a fill up, you have to project that fill up, when that's going to happen, and doing all that.
At what rates you can fill it up? Because we were having that conversation, we had to go back and we're like, you're seeing, let's say $100 rate, but you're seeing $100 rate on a facility that's full. If you're not full, we have to discount to fill up. So we can't get to that rate until we're full. So you have to go back and discount those years over the 2-3 years to fill up, right?
Especially when you're competing in markets with the REITs or whatever in the game they're playing. It's just killer. Yeah.
It's so funny. My son,
it's brutal.
He worked part-time in the summer, and he called up facilities. And so he secret shopped, and he was pulling out a lot of the numbers and everything. He's 15. And so he'd come into the office and be running up, and he came up to me one day. He's like, man, I really don't like Public Storage and CubeSmart. And I was like, why? And he goes, they're just killing the markets. He's like, Dad, you go in and they're dropping rates by like half. And I was like, Yep, that's right, buddy.
Welcome to my world.
The 15-year-old son's like, I don't, this crap. But it's so evident that the 15-year-old son can go, this is wild. Like, that's a major aggressive. That makes it really hard to underwrite. We got burned by that.
I was just going to say, to underwrite and to look projections has been, because of that, has been hard to look at a deal and go, what are the rates? I mean, these guys are down here and these guys
up here, they're all over.
Yeah. Most their tenants are up here, but I don't know what that is.
Their rate that they're discounting by 50% doesn't mean their in-place rate is that.
Yeah.
That conversation's hard enough. Having a conversation with a bank where you're like, yeah, but just because they're selling it at 50, they're really getting 120. Good luck with that, right?
Yeah.
And you can't really do that, so you have to take it what it is. And that's killing, kind of the development. But I speak of this because, I got burned by this. We were in a market and $200 rate went to $65. And they wanted to fill up. And what that did to our projection, it killed us, right? Because when they did that, obviously all the other facilities, because you're dealing with smaller demand, right? They do it. But other people aren't going to be aggressive like them. They're not going to get them in at 65 and 3 months later put them at $150, $200. They don't want to do that. They don't want to spike up the rent 3 months. So they're also playing a game that a lot of operators are going, I'm not going to triple somebody's rent in
not
3
going to
months.
play that. Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. And then you run into the problem, then what do? And I naively in 5, so this is 3, I'm at the location where it's explaining this to customers. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. It may be that they're going to jack your rate up 3x, 3-4 months. And I thought, well, that people get that and they don't want that. So I can convince them of that. Oh no, they're like,
Tough
their
sell.
rate is still $60 and yours is $100.
Yeah, it's a tough sell.
And they go, we're not going to be in there, or we don't care. It's still cheaper. And it was then that I realized, I'm like, oh, they don't care. The economics of a street rate where they decide to purchase is extremely different than the economics of an in-place rate. And that's
not
hard.
to mention, we're comparing, what I've found hard is you've got a Class A facility that they're getting this rate at.
Exactly.
Mine's a C or a D, you know what I mean? and I'm going, and your rate's higher than mine? I don't even have asphalt?
Yep. How do you justify that? And obviously, they've learned that, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're buying market share, they're discounting rates, they're hurting others, and then that provides buying opportunities for them, everything else. But it totally screws up the market, and it makes it really hard to underwrite for. The spreads are wild, and they change. Like, we've had underwriting where, well, the rate's $150. You're like, I'm looking online right now, and it's $90. And they're like, no, here, look, we have a single. It was, that was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And so when you guys are in situations like that, when you have these volatility and these spreads of rates, how do you decide that? You have one competitor that's this, you have a big boy that's dropping the rate like a rock. How are you guys deciding street rates moving forward?
We always underwrite very conservatively, right? And we said even to a fault, right? It's like we're going to go to the lowest person in the market and put our rates at that or lower, depending on what kind of facility they are.
Yep.
And do that. I mean, unless obviously it's a mom and pop run with no website or whatever, right? Then we can underwrite a little higher than that. But yeah, we do it really conservatively to feel safe in that kind of environment, which we just have to stay away from a lot of markets, right? When it just doesn't pencil, it doesn't work out because we're looking at public storage and extra space and SROA, they're the worst. I mean, I got $5 10x10s. I'm like,
they're just dropping it to nothing.
It's like, my gosh,
jacking up the rates.
How do I? So we've had to avoid a lot of markets because of that. But I keep internally, I'm like, this might be a good market. This might be a great market, but I don't know.
I don't know, and I can't make it and underwrite it. We're doing the same thing.
I haven't cracked the code. Yeah.
I think honestly, the sellers are getting killed by it because a seller is coming out and they're like, well, no, we could get this rate. It doesn't matter. This is what the market rates are today. So you're worth $2 million less.
Yeah.
And banks won't sign up on it and everything else. Yeah. And so it's exasperated that value change because occupancies are high, but in a lot of those markets, then the rates have dropped so low that when you're future projecting and you're looking at a facility and you're going, every tenant that you change, you're moving from a $100 rate to a $60 rate because that's what the market is. That's like a downward then trend in revenue. Now, whether that stops, turn around, like you said, we don't really know, right? And I think there's been a lot of discussion whether these big guys, will they ever stop that? And then if not, and this just becomes more and more standardized, how do you underwrite in-place rates versus street rates? I don't have an answer for it. That's the reason we're all having this discussion. We don't know. So nobody knows. But I think the idea of then saying it doesn't matter, we're just going to be conservative. What that does is that actually makes the deals that you're getting way better. And in the future, way better. Because you're building in that and you have to lower it, whether or not the in-place rates actually are up and whether they do go up. And over time, obviously that will change because their rate only matters based upon how much availability they have. So, I was talking to the team about this. They have a $60 rate, but how many units do they have? If you have 100 people that want that 10 by 10, they have a $60 rate and they have 2 units, then the $60 rate only matters to 2 people.
Yeah.
Right? The rest of everyone doesn't matter. So that shift takes place in the market as people start to rent more, interest rates go down, housing trust. Okay, you have a $60 rate, but then it's gone. And now nobody has it, so it doesn't matter anymore, right?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. And I haven't looked at these numbers of, is their turnover higher than what our turnover is, right? With the rate game that they play. I don't know. I mean, are we picking up long-term? Are we picking up long-term storage tenants, and they're picking up short-term storage? Because of the game that they play. So they go there for their 3-4 month period. The rate goes sky high. They come down to us, and it's $10 cheaper than what their street rate is. I don't know. I don't have any statistics of that, but I've often wondered that. Are we picking up? Because the longer we sit in a market, the better we get.
Yep, absolutely.
and so I don't know if it's because there's overturn happening in these type of facilities, and we're longer term. I don't know.
I mean, we've had to play the game a little bit just to a lesser degree, right? It's I don't feel comfortable doing what they do, but
well, that's how we were in Oklahoma. This was my mistake. I didn't want to play that game at all, and we did not rent. And it got to a point where even trying to convince customer stuff. I didn't want no, we have to at least partially play this game because it doesn't matter. That's now the game, right? And that's customers are choosing that, and that sucked. Going drop the rates, and they're like, well, but if we can, we'll get them back up. But that is now that's the market. That's our 3-mile radius. That's where we're at, and so we won't do it like they do, not even close. But all of a sudden we're going, okay, we've got to get the rates back up over a certain period of time. Does that make you want to avoid markets? And are you actively avoiding markets where people that play that game are?
Naturally, we're avoiding those markets.
Yeah.
It's pretty natural, right? Because
we do underwriting.
It doesn't pencil.
Yes.
With that.
So we do need to wrap this up because I'll just keep going, and I obviously enjoyed this conversation. Could talk about this all day. So before we go, guys, you're still actively buying, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You want to buy more. You're still in it. How do you feel about the future of storage, and where are you aligning your business with that?
We're going. We're buying, and I love what you talk about, right? Your buy box, right? That times the market for you, right? You get the emotions out of it, and just buy good deals at the time you can get good deals, and set up your company in a way that it can last through all of that. Yes. Don't do crazy underwriting. Don't run up your expenses so that when you're in a downtime you can't afford it, right? You got to charge the right fees, and that's the kind of structure we're trying to set up and get going, right? That we haven't done well up to this point, but that we're trying to get put together so that we can afford all this through the downtimes. We don't need extra fees in order to keep it and run it and operate it. But we're buying. We love storage, and we're continuing. I
think it's crucial, and you've talked about it, not to fear the market, but to take advantage of where the market is, right? And a lot of people fear the market.
Yes.
And guys like you and I that went through the 2008 period. Korbin didn't go through it, right? And that might be part of the whole thing. That might be part of the whole thing of my, me being way more like, whoa, let's hold back and look at this a little closer, having gone through that time period. But yeah, you can't fear the market. You've got to be able to, if you're in the storage industry and buying storage units and being in this industry, you gotta work with the market.
Yep.
And make decisions based on what it currently is and where you see the trends going. And so, yeah, definitely, we are moving forward with what we see the market will bear and
awesome
and give us. So
I love it. Now, guys, where can people go to learn about you, reach out? Where can we send people?
So our business is Better Self Storage. That's what we're kind of rebranding, putting them all over to. And I guess personally, reach out to me at corbinsmoot@gmail.com, or even my personal cell, 801-505-2334, right? If anybody wants to reach out, we're happy to look at deals and opportunities.
You're going to regret that,
anybody.
But
yeah. Nobody's going to want to reach out to me, but yeah, seriously, it's like at this conference, we're talking to a lot of people and we talking to people about their deals they're looking at. We're like, hey, you want an operational partner? We could totally step in. We've got the operation set up that we can take on deals and take a load off of some of these first-time investors that find great deals and
are scared to
something.
Scared to not know how to do it.
Yeah.
Yep. Love it. Same. Go to the website.
Yeah. Website, obviously, and same.
BetterSelfStorage.com.
Yep.
I don't know. You'll get our VAs from there, but
They can direct it.
they'll get back to you.
Yep.
But yeah, same as far as contacting us personally. It's just that we think that's the best way. And
Perfect.
My personal cell phone is 801-910-0594.
So I got to tell a funny story now.
Now that we
warn us against doing that. We'd edit that out.
Send us a text.
Send us a text.
Yeah, exactly. So I was doing the podcast, and it literally had this little mic, and I plugged it in the computer, and that was all I did. And it was starting to grow and everything. And I'm like, oh, I wonder how you get reviews. And I go on, so I'm on one of the podcasts too, and I'm like, hey, you know what? If you guys leave me a great review, I want to support you guys. I'll even jump on the phone and talk to you. You can send in a message in. Holy crap. Because when I did it, the podcast kept growing and people were going back to that episode. I had a summer where every day I was doing 10 to 15 minute phone calls.
Oh boy.
For hours a day. It became like just hours a week. And I'm like, I did not expect that. But
maybe edit that out.
Yeah. I was like, holy cow.
We wouldn't
was
get
awesome
that kind of.
Yeah, we don't.
We're not that smart.
Right.
We're not.
We might be one of the guys calling you, AJ. So.
Well, guys, thanks for being here at the conference, obviously, and jumping on the podcast with me. I appreciate it.
No, you guys put on a good conference. This is great. Anybody that wants to come is interested in storage should seriously consider it.
Thanks,
so,
guys.
Very valuable. Yeah.